no one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you can't really, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks really got past that playoff dragon for them that really stood in their way. So for the New York Knicks to be the Celtics and then an outright favorite to win the Eastern Conference Finals, that's where the disappointment is.
The goalposts got moved, right? Because when you went into the Celtics series, a lot of Knicks fans said they weren't going to beat it. This, I'll say this is more unprecedented than the 99 run when they were the 8th seed.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Face. It's the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces in the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
And if you go through Cat, that means Cat at 11-1 could be Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The worst team in the WNBA is the Chicago Sky. They have no perimeter play. They're playing Sloot too many minutes. And Angel Reese doesn't have the help she needs.
Betting above the rim, only on
Welcome to hour number 2, live right here on this Tuesday morning on the Early Line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. A lot to get to here in hour number 2. We've got headlines still in the National Football League. We've got headlines across the sports landscape. And for the first time, our producer extraordinaire and tennis aficionado, Joe Frizo, will set the stage with his notes that we will read for the French Open at Roland Garros. Of course, a grand slam in the world of tennis and on that clay over in France. We'll break that down, and then later in this second hour, the NHL's Pete Jensen is here on the day before the day that begins the Stanley Cup Final tomorrow night in Edmonton. It's a rematch between the Oilers and the Panthers, but this time around, where are the advantages? Where are the differences? Pete will tell us and hopefully highlight how Donnie's Canadian team can bring Lord Stanley's Cup back to the Great White North.
And by the way, make me commissioner of sports. We're not waiting a week to get our championship games underway. It's not the NFL where you're building up a lot of, like, because in the NFL, Ben, right, you have the week off. Like, to build the animosity towards the two teams and a lot of, bulletin board material, and everybody gets to get to that destination city. We're not doing that in the NBA and the NHL. You should have, final game Sunday. All right, great. Tuesday, finals. Let's go. One day off here. Get to your new city, and let's start to play here. Because you lose momentum in these other sports. You don't gain. Nobody's gaining momentum here for the NBA Finals on Thursday. You're losing it.
I'm not entirely sure why the date of the NBA Finals or that of the Stanley Cup Final are specifically set. We know that, though, going into every NBA season, every NHL season as well. Does not matter the length of the previous series in the conference finals round. I'm sure it's beneficial for TV networks, for those advertising partners. I get all of that. But it feels like it should be a flexible thing. That's just my 2 cents. DRS, we continue with some NFL news, and the big news yesterday for the Lions. Star center Frank Ragnow announces his retirement after only 7 years. It is an offseason of change for Detroit. Ben Johnson, the stellar OC, now the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator that led the turnaround on that side of the ball for the Lions, the new head coach of the New York Jets. The guys to fill the space John Morton on the offensive side. Kelvin Shepard, who was the linebackers coach under Aaron Glenn, takes the reins now as the play caller on the defensive side of the football. Dan Campbell still remains. A lot of the star talent, especially in those skill positions, are there, and we would expect the defense that was really banged up in the tail end of the season, maybe holding the Lions back, to at least be healthier in 2025 from the very start. But everybody in the NFC North has a very difficult schedule this year. That, of course, is the case for Detroit. A Super Bowl price that is now at 10-1 with some reshuffling, but you see it there at plus 900. Regardless, it's the 5th best number for all teams in the NFL, 2nd best price of any squad hailing from the NFC. The win total for the Lions in double digits at 10.5, and the under has a slight bit of juice. Donnie, again, a lot of the cast and crew that actually will play the game remains the same for Detroit. Of course, they've got to fill some needs now in the interior of that O-line. But with changes to the coaching staff and some significant changes up front offensively, how do you feel about the Lions entering 2025?
I feel solid because they're a good football team, but also if you just put them in the same realm of the Philadelphia Eagles when they went to a Super Bowl, which the Detroit Lions did not, they still kept their head coach, but they lost both of their coordinators. And they opened up that season 10-1 and it absolutely collapsed on the back stretch because the defense couldn't stop anybody because you didn't have a true signal caller back there. And maybe a guy that was a little bit too early to get that OC job didn't work out in your favor. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen to the Detroit Lions, but you had a defensive coach that was like, all right, our statistics aren't great because everybody got injured, but they'll listen to me and I'll hold down the fort and I'll call the right plays. Let's just see if we can execute. And then on the offensive side, you might have the best signal caller in the entire NFL who's now left that team. Those are hard shoes to fill and then gives more opportunity here for Dan Campbell to say, well, I got to watch the offense and the defense now instead of just managing my football team. That's going to make a difference. And also we talked about the shakeup there a bit on the offensive line. The Philadelphia Eagles lost Jason Kelsey, but then had Cam Jurgens for a couple years already built into as a solid offensive lineman, and he was spectacular last year. Can you get that same sort of effort there out of the new center as opposed to having Frank Ragnow, who's very good over the past couple years? It's never good to enter into a season, Ben, where you have question marks, and it seems like the question marks are building for the Detroit Lions. We hope they can answer them sooner than later.
Yeah, DRS, the question marks are building. And I think if you were to tell any casual football fan, hey, you still have your head coach, your quarterback, your star wide receivers, your star running backs, your star tight end, your all-world edge rusher who has been very promising in his 3 years in the NFL, now returns from a significant knee injury and leg injury. You've got all your guys back defensively. You'd be like, all right, let's go back to where we expect to be, a 15-win team a season ago, an NFC championship game team the season prior. But when you lose key players along the interior of the O-line, that's important. Here's how Detroit probably addresses that. Graham Glasgow, their right guard, probably makes his way more to the center. You drafted Tate Ratledge out of Georgia, an interior O-lineman who can really kind of be wherever you need. Your 2nd-round pick. You still have Taylor Decker, your blindside blocker, and Penei Sewell, one of the best on the other side as your right tackle. But you've got a lot of moving parts now for Detroit. I think the Lions, in terms of Super Bowl and NFC title odds, present a lot of value if the coordinator drop-off is not overly steep. But I'm going to wait to bet that, DRS, until we really get going in 2025, because I think I could miss the best of the number. But if the Lions, with that incredibly difficult slate that you see there, look at the first 3 games for Detroit.
Who's
if
game
the Lions
4?
get off to a what?
Wait, who's the logo for game 4? What is
I believe
that?
that's the Browns, right?
Is it? It looks like a wolf or
Yes.
something like that from this angle.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
like
crazy.
the dog pound. Yeah.
I would have never guessed that. Who are they playing week 4? I would never have been able to guess that.
But I think, DRS, like if they get off to a really good start there, that number is going to drop rapidly. If they do not, though, I think you'll still have some value and you'll get a picture at least of what the Lions are looking like because of how difficult the schedule is from the very start for Detroit in 2025.
Yeah, and also, like, again, you're taking a look at, like, the NFC East, the NFC North, like, just tough schedules right out of the gate. Like, again, you don't want a layup necessarily to start your season, but you're taking on the Packers on the road. That's a tough game, a good football team. They're going to have home field advantage. Game number 2, you have Ben Johnson, who knows all about your offense and your schemes and can relay that to the defense and put in some new wrinkles with a talented Bears team. Then you go on the road to take on Baltimore. And let me tell you something, even though it's still early in the season, you open up, let's just say 1-2 there, those questions start, oh, look at that. Can't overcome the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator. Maybe Dan Campbell's not that good here. You need a good start for the Lions here just to keep the good vibes. And as we said 2 years ago, the Philadelphia Eagles had a great start with new coordinators and still flamed out at the end. So long season, but you'd like to have a good start here to keep those good vibes in the room.
Yes, you certainly would. And losing coordinators, especially those of Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, obviously very sought after and highly regarded, that immediately became head coaches. You could think of the Eagles back in 2022 when they reached a Super Bowl, lost both of their guys, Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, who became head coaches, in the drop-off for Philadelphia when it mattered most, late in the season, and of course in that playoff game. The Lions have the third most difficult schedule in the National Football League based on projected win totals and all of the rest advantages and such entering 2025. More NFL news when we return on TEL.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Live right here on this Tuesday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. We continue going around the National Football League for the latest news and notes that you need. And DRS yesterday, Stephon Diggs made his return and was in attendance in Foxborough for voluntary OTAs. Now, who among us has not partied it up a little bit on a weekend and shown up a little bit late for work and been slightly distracted? Stephon Diggs is back. He is in attendance at voluntary OTAs. Now, can we just go back to the tweet graphic we had right there? The helmet looks like it's about to eat the tweet. Like, that's a large Patriots helmet right there on your screen. I love that with an indication of what exactly Steph Diggs is returning to.
Yeah, you know what? It's never a good thing to be an outside distraction to a new football team, and that's what you're getting here. And I don't know if anybody's going to ask him direct. Now, by the way, I'm sure he didn't meet the media because only like select players, like maybe a quarterback, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. What are the questions that the media wants to ask Stephon Diggs? I'm pretty sure it's not, hey, how's your knee? Welcome back. It's like, what were you handing out on that boat there? Like, we just get it? That's all I want to know is like an explanation. Like, does he just say no comment, or does he go like, look, like, this stuff is so diabolical, like, they can't even test for it because they don't know what it is yet? Or just, like, well, how do you even handle that? Like, how do you tell your employer? It's like, what were you doing on that boat? What did you have in your hand? Like, what's, like, it was Pop Rocks? Like, what do you even explain it as at that point?
Yeah, I don't know if the first question would be, what is Tussie? And how exactly is it ingested? I'm not entirely sure, DRS, how that would go. My guess is knowing how New England operates, even in the post-Bill Belichick era, because Vrabel is his disciple, that Stephon Diggs will not be made available to the media at any point throughout voluntary OTAs. Maybe the next time we hear from Diggs is either through himself individually or at a certain point later this summer. Donnie, do you think it would be wise at all for New England to cut him? Like, do you think Stephon Diggs will play a game for the Patriots in 2025?
I do. I think I'm not saying they would have done it already. That doesn't make sense. But you might say, all right, if your knee isn't all the way back, maybe we make a different decision because of off the field. But as long as you're not the one thing we do know is if you have talent and you can help a football team and you're not behind bars, they will let you play in the NFL. It's just the way it is. So if you had change this up and say, all right, the best quarterback, let's just say Patrick Mahomes was in the same situation. Andy Reid would be like, hey, you know what? We don't like that, but they're going to cut him. Like, no, like, look how long it took to cut Justin Tucker down there for the Baltimore Ravens. Because, like, hey, can he still kick field goals? Because it's worth the PR hit that we're going to take.
And that, of course, with Justin Tucker, far more serious allegations than anything happening with Stephon Diggs at this moment. To Donnie's point, it might not be the best look. And again, we're still not really sure what that unidentified pink substance is, but he's not in any legal trouble at this moment. More NFL news yesterday, really hearing from Deion Sanders for the first time following the 2025 NFL draft, that of course saw his former quarterback and son, Shedeur Sanders, slide all the way into the 5th round. Deion Sanders saying he was, quote, hurt by reports that said his son, Shedeur Sanders, was unprepared during pre-draft meetings with NFL organizations, but he also isn't buying the validity of them either. Of course, it is not overly shocking that Deion is backing his son in Shedeur Sanders. We played a segment or a game last week, DRS, calling news or no. I would probably say that is no, not exactly the most riveting news around the NFL.
But let's understand what he's saying here. It's unfair. They don't like me. They're holding against my son. Once again, that's not the way the NFL works. If a team thinks you can help them on the field, you will be drafted accordingly. So regardless of what Deion says here, you had a quarterback that dropped to the 5th round and multiple teams passed. And here's what I love about it, too, is like the Mike Tomlins of the world and also Denver's head coach, Sean Payton right now. Unbelievable. Can't believe that happened. And I say, you know what? If I was in the room, hey, if this was so unbelievable and the talent was so there, Pittsburgh, you needed a quarterback. You didn't care if you drafted him in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th round, if there even was one in the NFL. So who are you to say this is a travesty because your organization, which includes you, thought the same exact thing everybody else did? Hey, he might be a good player. Does he have enough baggage? And is his tape and film good enough? And the answer is a resounding no. It only takes one team to think he's a great player and will be a starting quarterback. Tim Tebow, who many teams like, this guy can't play. Where did he get drafted? Round number 1, because it takes one team that just need to believe. No collusion out here. Teams think he's not worth the headache and the talent isn't there. That's why he got drafted in the 5th round. Not because Deion's like, they held it against me and he was unprepared. No, the reasons are you pop the game tape on, they go, he's just not as good as we think the rest of the people think he is. And the NFL was thinking the same way as us.
Plus 430 for Shedeur Sanders to be that week 1 starting quarterback for Cleveland. In that jumbled quarterback room, Sanders has the 2nd longest price. Joe Flacco, the veteran, at 40 years old, is the favorite at plus 116. Kenny Pickett, the guy acquired via trade with Philadelphia earlier in the offseason, 2nd best price at 2-1. Now, I do not believe that Shedeur Sanders in those pre-draft meetings, it was the reason that he slid all the way into the 5th round. Any of the reports of how nonchalant he took them, and when he was pressed to kind of display that football acumen, he failed in doing so. But I do think the way that the Sanders camp constructed his pre-draft schedule, and that was DRS going to the combine, but not taking measurements, not working out, not throwing, but only interviewing, probably not a great look. Not going to the Senior Bowl, but going to the East-West Shrine Bowl and not working out, probably not a great look. Going to Big 12 Pro Day and not working out, probably not a good look. To only have a highly orchestrated and almost party-like event at Boulder for CU's Pro Day, probably not a great look. So you went into the scouting departments of NFL organizations and did not give them an opportunity to truly get the evaluation pieces they needed during that draft cycle. And I understand, show the tape, look at the game tape, but clearly they had issue with game tape during his time at Colorado, and he didn't really work out to give an opportunity to kind of change that assessment. It wasn't about the meetings or the interviews. I think the pre-draft process, though, did play a part into why Shedeur Sanders slid in the NFL draft. Let's talk NBA Finals up next.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you can't really, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers' interest in Aaron Rodgers as a joke. Your boy went off about the entire situation and why it taken so long to forget him. Terry Bradshaw getting involved.
Yeah, and saying basically, what are you bringing him in for 1 year? All of this drama for 1 year at this guy, where he is now in his career is he's washed.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Still 2 days away from the start of the 2025 NBA Finals in Oklahoma City. It is Thursday night between the Thunder and the Pacers. We continue to break down what we can expect in the NBA championship matchup. We'll have Brian Fonseca on the show later in our third and final hour. But DRS, as we look at the series outright prices and where this set stands, of course, OKC remains a very, very hefty favorite. Minus 750, still that same outright price. And even DRS for Oklahoma City to win in 5 games, whether it's laying 2.5 in that series spread, 5 games at the most to cash that ticket. The VIG yesterday was minus 118. That juice today, minus 132. Even more likely, Oklahoma City to pull off the gentleman's sweep and win in 5. The most likely outcome, as the odds makers saw it for the NBA Finals on a Monday, was plus 210. Take a couple of cents off that number, now plus 198. People buying into the idea the Thunder, the overwhelming favorite, and the NBA Finals probably does not have overly a long duration to it.
Yeah, most people thought the Pacers would have been knocked out a long time ago, but they're still here standing in the NBA Finals, and we understand how good Oklahoma City is and how important home court advantage is. We get that, but you're also taking a look at a team in Indiana that's won a lot of big games on the road already in this playoff run in some hostile environments. They're not going to be afraid. They're also coming into the Finals as a healthy team, so equal rest on both sides. Not, hey, we've been rested for 8 days. You just played last night, and good luck with that, and there's a lot of back-to-backs in the NBA Finals. You will be rested. You have time off in between games, staying in the same city, not jet setting on, playing in Denver one night, LA the next night, 2 nights later being in Dallas. I think we'll be fine on this. So Pacers, I think there is an advantage for them because they've won big games, but not an advantage for the series because we understand that the Thunder are the better team, heavily priced at a minus 750 to handle their business. But also from me, I do think we get games 6+ in this, which means I would take the over 5 games. And also, is there a chance, like, is anybody, like, I can't even believe that the Pacers won this series. Like, stop. That's a good basketball team. If the Pacers steal one of these first 2 games, we're in for an extended series. That's the way it should be, and that's the way I'm betting it here. Is it a little bit with my heart, like, okay, it's the NBA, it's the Finals. Boy, I hope we don't get a 4-game explosion where it's like, boy, that was really boring, and 20-point wins every night, and SGA turns out to be MVP. Give us a little controversy. Give us a little turmoil. Give us a little adversity for the best team in OKC. Let's go over the 5 games.
Yeah, DRS, I completely agree with you. Over 5.5 games in the series total games over under now plus 120. It was plus 106 yesterday. Again, every indication, whichever way you slice it from the series odds, Oklahoma City is going to win the Larry O'Brien Trophy, be crowned an NBA champion, and probably do it in at most 5 games. We're hoping for a little bit better than that just as basketball fans and to extend our final NBA games this summer and this season. Let's compare these 2 teams. I thought JY and the way he has broken this down so far, our coach DRS throughout this series has been interesting. You really looked at how Indiana played against the New York Knicks, against the Bucks, against the Cavs, but especially New York. And you saw the advantage for the Pacers. Height advantage, physicality advantage, pace advantage. They are one of the best teams, if not the best, in the NBA, even taking a made basket and turning it into transition quickly. That might not be the strength against Oklahoma City, where the Thunder would open up that matchup and welcome that exposure. And in terms of balance and depth for the Pacers, it's not necessarily like they have a large advantage against OKC where they did against New York. The Pacers are 50-32 this season in the regular season. Of course, much better here throughout the playoffs. 16 games in total for Indiana. In this playoff run, 16 games in total for Oklahoma City. The best NBA team throughout the regular season, 68-14 DRS. They were a cover machine throughout the regular season, a 68% clip, by far the best. The Thunder have 80 total wins, 68 in the regular, 12 in the postseason, one of 4 NBA teams ever, with a couple of Michael Jordan Bulls teams in the mid-90s, and of course the Golden State team that won 73 regular season games. Those 4 NBA teams, the only 4 in NBA history to win at least 80 games by the start of the NBA Finals.
They're good. This just in, right? All that dominant success in the regular season has turned into dominant success for the most part here in the playoffs. But you are correct about one thing. The reason Indiana was able to turn up the gas against the New York Knicks is they weren't that great defensively in the open court. Oklahoma City is just as athletic and taller at key positions here to try to shut you down. That's going to be tough for the Pacers to say, we want to get out and run. And OKC's like, fine, we'll shut that down as well.
Yeah, we'll shut that down, and then we'll answer as well with our own offensive onslaught if you open up the pace of play. We'll talk about what that can mean for the opening game of the NBA Finals next.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you can't really, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers' interest in Aaron Rodgers as a joke. Your boy went off about the entire situation and why it taken so long to forget him. Terry Bradshaw getting involved.
Yeah, and saying basically, what are you bringing him in for 1 year? All of this drama for 1 year at this guy, where he is now in his career is he's washed.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Still 2 days away from the tip of the NBA Finals on a Thursday night in Oklahoma City. The Thunder, a hefty favorite, of course, to win a Larry O'Brien trophy. At OKC DRS, a hefty favorite in the opening game of the NBA Finals. 9-point spread in favor of the Thunder. A total already on the rise to 231.5. It was 230 and a hook just yesterday. 231 points, 232 even expected in the opening game of the NBA Finals. Are we going to see that much offense from the very jump?
I don't know. We might. And again, earlier in the series, not every possession technically needs to be played like it's life or death. You're getting used to the other teams here, don't know their offensive sets. And also understand this. You had a week to prepare to put in some new offensive sets that might not even be on tape, so the other team can't have that scouting report. Whereas when you get to games 3, 4, and 5, you know everything that they're doing at that point here. But also, it's not fair to say, can Russ, creep in? The guys played an entire season. They probably love having an extra couple days off, and they should be just fine. So for me, I do think we lean more towards the over than the under in game number 1. Don't love it, but that's just the way I would look at that point. So I think the tempo will be there. It's just a matter of will the shot making go down? Because saying to yourself, the Pacers would only score 98 points in this game. Put it this way. The Pacers don't get to the century mark in game number 1. Don't watch games 2, 3, and 4. It's going to be academic at that point. So I'm expecting points, at least in game number 1.
And that's one of the differences, right? The Thunder really stout defensively. If they can slow down Indiana, of course, a monumental advantage for Oklahoma City, who has played 16 games in the postseason, 8 over, 8 under, not much of an edge there. Indiana, you could correlate at times their success with the points scored in a game. 3 of their 4 wins in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Knicks did push to the over. The 2 victories for New York in the ECF both stayed well under. That is why the total is at 231.5. DRS, interesting betting statistics early here. Still more than 48 hours out from game number 1 on FanDuel. 57% of the money on the spread backing OKC as that hefty 9-point favorite. 57% of the overall volume of bets backing the Pacers as the hefty underdog on the road in game number 1. Now, it's not necessarily scientific, but anytime there is more money being bet on one side versus bets, often you think larger bets are more experienced gamblers, not just everybody else in the public putting in their 2 cents and their money for a game. Does that tell you anything that more of the money is on OKC, but more of the volume of bets on Indiana?
Yeah, because most of the time you're looking also and understanding, like, let's put this number into order here. And you say, all right, well, which way would I like to bet? What's the old school theory and the novice gambler? Wait a second.
Yeah.
The Pacers in the NBA Finals, they're healthy. They look damn good in their first 3 series, and I'm getting close to 10 points. Sign me up. And again, as I always like to say, these numbers are there for a reason. That's what the algorithm spits out. So for me, and say, you know what, been around the block multiple times, that number is screaming at you. You better be taking Oklahoma City in this game because some outlets are already up to 9.5 points. Can you imagine that? Basically a double-digit line for game 1 of the NBA Finals with 2 good basketball teams. Like, where do I sign up? Like, I don't know if the Pacers can win, but, boy, they certainly should be able to hang in and stay within double digits. But that line is talking to me right now that says you better get on Oklahoma City because it looked like it might be a blowout in game number 1.
The Pacers on the road this postseason, 6-2, outright an underdog in all 8. As a dog overall, 7-3 straight up and against the number. OKC has been at least a 5-point favorite in all 16 playoff games. They are 7-9 against the spread, but all 7 of those covers coming at home, where OKC is 8-1 straight up throughout this playoff run with an average win margin of more than 25 points per game. 5 of those 7 covers have come when OKC is won by 30-plus points. Let's talk some other NBA news quickly here, DRS. I'm sure you are going to love to break down the Suns coaching search that is kind of focused on 2 associate head coaches in Cleveland under Kenny Atkinson. Johnny Bryant and Jordan Ott, your 2 finalists for the Suns. DRS, your thoughts?
You'll get paid a good amount of money. Do not buy, even though it's usually a good investment to buy a property. Make sure you rent, get a short rental lease agreement, and make sure you're already hunting around, handing out your resumes about a month or 2 into the season, because these 2 guys I'd never heard of, they will not last long in that spot. Matt Ishbia is going to say, hey, guys, it's a rebuild. We'll be patient. He's not going to be patient. You will be canned within 2 years here. It's just the way it is. But make a lot of money in the short term and be an NBA coach. Not many people get to do that.
3 weeks from tomorrow, the 2025 NBA draft and its opening round. Cooper Flagg still an incredibly hefty favorite, minus 100,000 to go first overall to the Dallas Mavericks. Dylan Harper now minus 5,000. Odds slightly stronger to go second to San Antonio. DRS, let's talk pick number 3. Ace Bailey from your family, your religion, and Rutgers basketball. Plus 115 to go third overall to your 76ers. Is that still what you want Philadelphia to do at third overall?
Like, I don't really do a ton of film on these, but just being excited about the prospect that you've been hearing about for a couple years, and it looks like you slotted right into that 3 spot, and he's going to be there. They probably end up taking him, but it is interesting, again, if you're an odds guy, like, look at the difference between pick number 3 and pick number 4 with VJ Edgecombe out of Baylor. It's really close. It's not, hey, minus this, minus that, way minus this. It's almost like a coin flip here, which I do think the Sixers probably end up taking Ace Bailey. The fans are pointing towards that as well, but we still have some time to go before the NBA draft, and those 2 numbers are really close here, but I would think Ace Bailey's coming to the Philadelphia 76ers.
Some reports yesterday that Philly might be interested in a couple of freshmen. Come on, Maliwatch, of course, the big man from Duke, and Texas's Trey Johnson, who was that favorite to go 5th overall. Triple header in the WNBA. Tonight, the Indiana Fever host the Washington Mystics. No Caitlin Clark still for Indiana. The Fever still 3rd best price to win a WNBA championship. Our reigning champs in the Liberty already shortening that number at plus 150. The Minnesota Lynx, last year's runner-up, plus 320. Commissioner's Cup action. Of course, that regular season championship within the W now underway. Let's talk a little French Open, shall we? It is quarterfinal Tuesday in Paris at Roland Garros. Carlos Alcaraz, our reigning champ. And of course, he's not, wait, is he world number 1? No, Yannick Sinner's world number 1? Who's your world number one, Friezo? Sinner is world number one.
Sinner.
Yannick Sinner, the Italian, the flaming redhead, has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles, last year's U.S. Open and the Australian Open back in January, has never won in Paris. And Alcaraz is the reigning champ and the favorite DRS, minus 105. Yannick Sinner, plus 135. Novak Djokovic, all the way back at 10-1. The Joker at 10-1, a sign of the times, of course, with this new era in men's tennis, with Alcaraz and Sinner leading the way.
I mean, is there a worse sporting event like Live Singapore, where nobody will watch? Like, is this on the CW? Is this followed by the Gilmore Girls? It hasn't even been on my TV. I didn't even know what was really going on, per se, until the last 2 days at this point. Yeah, TNT means don't turn on the television, basically, to me, at this point, outside of the NBA season. So, yeah, no, I'm not watching it. Maybe it's Sinner, maybe it's Djokovic, maybe it's Zverev, but along with me, nobody is watching this, and that's my take. How about that?
Oh, okay. I appreciate that. 2 Americans into the quarters. We're having a good American showing in Paris.
McEnroe?
Tommy Paul. What?
McEnroe's in this? Who else? Jimmy Connors?
No, he's announcing, I think.
By the way.
One on Tommy Paul. What? And Francis Tiafoe.
Who was it? Who was it? Was Chang? Who was the guy when I was growing up? When I was like in the late 80s, early 1990s. He won I think the French Open, didn't he? Michael Chang. There you go. Bring him back, man. That guy will bring up the ratings for us here.
You know what? Producer extraordinaire Joe Friezo and the tennis aficionado, if you were to throw out like a year and a Grand Slam, men's or women's, he can give you the winner. He is an encyclopedia of this, so anything we say here is basically from his mind. A couple of Americans continue into the quarters on this Tuesday in Paris. On the women's side, Coco Gauff, plus 460, 4th best price, and Madison Keys at 19-1. But the favorites, world number 1, Arina Sabalenka at plus 220. But Iga Swiatek, dominant on the clay, has won 3 consecutive at Paris.
Let's go watch Challengers.
Maybe.
Challengers is better than this whole tournament.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you can't really, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks really got past that playoff dragon for them that really stood in their way. So for the New York Knicks to be the Celtics and then an outright favorite to win the Eastern Conference Finals, that's where the disappointment is.
The goalposts got moved, right? Because when you went into the Celtics series, a lot of Knicks fans said they weren't going to beat it. I'll say this is more unprecedented than the 99 run when they were the 8th seed.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Face. It's the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces of the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
And if you go through Cat, that means Cat at 11-1 could be Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The worst team in the WNBA is the Chicago Sky. They have no perimeter play. They're playing Sloot too many minutes. And Angel Reese doesn't have the help she needs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
It is the eve of the beginning of the 2025 Stanley Cup Final, a familiar foe faces off once again. It's a rematch of last year's Cup Final when the Florida Panthers hoisted that cup in Sunrise in a dramatic 7-game series that went the distance despite Florida opening up a 3-0 series lead. To tell us what is different this time around and if we will eventually see the same result, Pete Jensen of the NHL joins us here on this Tuesday morning on the eve of the Cup Final getting underway tomorrow night up in the Great White North in Edmonton, Alberta. Pete, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you for being here on the early line.
Of course, guys. What a great way to culminate the season. Getting right back where we started with everybody's preseason predictions. Like, I had the Oilers many moons ago winning the Cup in that revenge tour that we were expecting. The problem was the regular season, man. They were just such a mediocre team. I didn't trust them. I jumped off a little bit, but they've reconvinced me that they could win in so many different ways. But standing in their way are the Florida Panthers, the deepest team in the NHL, and just an absolute juggernaut with so many greasy goal scorers. So it's going to be so much fun to watch.
And Pete, we start big picture, and then we'll break down the actual matchup, what is different between these two teams this time around. Let's start with the reigning champs in the Florida Panthers, who not only are continuing that title defense into yet another Stanley Cup Final, but the third consecutive Cup Final for the Panthers. And even the year prior, Pete, in a second-round exit, they were the best regular season team in the National Hockey League in 2022, winning that President's Trophy. So 4 illustrious seasons in Sunrise. What is the best thing about what Florida has done on this trending dynastic run?
I mean, this postseason, it's been their play on the road, and that's going to be a huge storyline going into games 1 and 2. Can Edmonton hold serve? They may need to in order to win this series. That's a low-key storyline right off the hop, right off the puck drop in game 1 in Edmonton. So 8-2 on the road are the Florida Panthers with a plus 27 goal differential. You could talk all about how Edmonton has been an elite 5-on-5 team this postseason. With their goal differential, they're like 42-26, but the Panthers have been even better at 5-on-5. So it's really going to be a clash of the Titans here. And I think with the Florida Panthers, just how deep they are. Remember, even compared to last year when they won the Cup, they have added Brad Marchand, the grizzled veteran from the Boston Bruins, and he's had an outstanding postseason on their third line with Luce Durainen and Anton Lundell. And then when you look at Seth Jones, how he has beefed up the blue line after they lost in the offseason, guys like Brandon Montour and Ekman Larson, you see Seth Jones kind of reaping the rewards of that trade, going from Chicago, a bottom feeder, to one of the best teams in the league in the Panthers.
Pete, we take a look, too, because we understand this is a rematch from last year. But the interesting part is not for me like Florida. You won last year. You spent all that energy, and it came with a Stanley Cup championship. You take a look at Edmonton last year, getting to the final, getting down 0-3, forcing 3-3 into a game number 7 and losing it. The expectations are you might have a little bit of a, man, we just can't wait to get back to the playoffs and play. But sometimes you get that fall off, which we see in the Super Bowls. The losers of the Super Bowl not having a great season the next year. Talking about Edmonton and being just headstrong in making it back into the NHL Finals and what that means.
Sure. So they've won in so many different ways. Like I said, comeback fashion early on. Remember with the 4 straight come from behind wins against the LA Kings after losing games 1 and 2 in LA. They really flipped the switch there. And then I think when you just look at the Oilers, you've seen a lot of adjustments over the course of the postseason. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has really exploded offensively. They've gotten the depth scoring. Corey Perry, like 40 years old or whatever he is, leads the NHL in high danger goals this postseason with 6. I mean, total fountain of youth situation there. Connor Brown has chipped in. Evander Kane is a guy that missed the whole regular season because of injury, and he's been, an impact player, and I think has an even higher ceiling for the Cup Final if Edmonton's going to get over the hump. And then maybe my favorite X factor of all is Edmonton has done this mostly to this point, except for the final game of the Western Conference Final, without Matthias Ekholm, who I think is their most well-rounded defenseman. He came back in that game and now got a little rest here, about almost a week's worth of rest, right? That's really important for a guy just working his way back from injury. They will rely on Matthias Ekholm, the veteran defenseman, very heavily in this Cup final matchup against the high-danger goal scorers of the Panthers.
Yeah, Pete, you mentioned it. A rather mediocre regular season for Edmonton, at least based on expectation. A shorter price to win the West before the year got started than even entering the postseason. They were the favorites to win the Western Conference crown for a second straight year at plus 390, a longer price before the playoffs, and yet here they are once again, where Connor McDavid leads the Oilers into their second consecutive Stanley Cup final. The career resume already for McDavid, Pete, is sensational. He won the Conn Smythe as the playoff MVP a season ago without his team even winning that Stanley Cup. He has been the Hart Trophy winner 3 times, the NHL MVP hardware. But as the native Canadian, what would it mean, Pete, for his legacy, that of Connor McDavid, for the prodigal son to return Lord Stanley's Cup to the Great White North?
Oh, it would mean everything for sure. And it would mirror the same type of thing as Wayne Gretzky, Sidney Crosby, right? They got to the Cup final the first time and lost. And that's a pretty rare thing to get back there the next year. And those two all-time greats, Crosby and Gretzky, both won it the second time around and learned from, of course, what went wrong in the prior Cup final appearances. So I think that it's nice for McDavid to get back here, especially after, remember, in the Four Nations tournament, he scored the game-winning goal for Canada to beat the U.S. in the championship game just a couple of months ago. So it would kind of be riding that momentum. And make no mistake about it, I think that tournament kind of reinvigorated McDavid a little bit because the season was not going on the right track prior to that. And then that has had a ripple effect on his entire team, whether it's Draisaitl, who led the league in goals in the regular season, especially the goaltender, Stuart Skinner. He has been sensational of late for the Oilers.
Now we'll talk about the Stanley Cup final and the rematch between the Panthers and the Oilers, breaking down the specifics of this series with Pete Jensen on the other side of the break. We'll look at game one. We'll talk Conn Smythe Trophy odds, all of that and much more with Pete next.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you can't really, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers' interest in Aaron Rodgers as a joke. Your boy went off about the entire situation and why it's taken so long to forget him. Terry Bradshaw getting involved.
Yeah, and saying basically, what are you bringing him in for 1 year? All of this drama for 1 year at this guy, where he is now in his career is he's washed.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
A A Stanley Cup final rematch now once again in 2025. It's the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. Last year, it was Florida opening up a 3-0 series lead, only for Edmonton to score 8 goals in game number 4, which started their own 3-game win streak, forcing a Game 7 in Sunrise. And in a highly anxious game, Florida held on for a 2-1 win and hoisted that Stanley Cup. This time around, Pete, a few differences just right away. The Oilers have home ice advantage. Game number 1 will be in Edmonton. And Edmonton is a slight series outright favorite to bring Canada back to Cup for the first time since 1993, now more than 3 decades. Pete, you see the odds. I have asked you time and again about the differences. How do these two teams differ than the versions we saw entering last year's Stanley Cup final?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a different wrinkle on Edmonton's side after some moves they made over the course of the year. Jake Wallman, a nice, steady defenseman on the back end. They acquired him from the Sharks before the deadline. Also, Victor Arvidsson, the veteran winger, adds a lot of speed to an already fast team. Make no mistake about it, the Edmonton Oilers are a much faster team than the Florida Panthers, whether it comes down to their top guy, McDavid, their wingman, Leon Draisaitl, or any of the other guys like Podkolzin, Victor Arvidsson, Connor Brown. They're all speed demons. So how can the Florida Panthers slow that group down is going to be a major question. I think what I saw as the series went on last year, a lot of people forget, Leon Draisaitl was held without a goal in the entire series. Evan Bouchard was held without a goal the entire series. And Connor McDavid, even though he blew up offensively and won the Conn Smythe for the losing team, he was held without a point in both games 6 and 7. So that is something on Edmonton's side that they're going to have to adjust to. And even if they get off to a hot start, it's all about how they finish and how they sustain it. So I think that Florida, led by Alexander Barkov, poses a threat to hold some of these guys off the board, at least in certain games of the series.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch, man. 2 explosive teams, particularly nice seeing a total in game number 1 of 6.5, which means you need 7 goals to get over the hump here. If we look at the series prices, though, the Edmonton Oilers are the favorite here, Pete, at a -128 price to lift Lord Stanley's Cup. Do you agree with that price point here at the FanDuel Sportsbook?
It's hard to say. I mean, I feel like if they played this series 10 times, the Panthers would probably win it 6 or 7. But in this particular circumstance, my pick is the Oilers for some redemption. I feel like the Oilers are playing much more structured, better defensive hockey, and they make the adjustments. They could definitely win the series. So that's like what I'm looking at. The Oilers with Ekholm back and Wallman adding to their defensive efforts. They still have Nurse. They still have Bouchard, who can be a liability defensively sometimes. But to me, like the Florida Panthers are, it's weird seeing a plus number next to them because I think that they're so deep. The first line has Barkov and Verhaeghe. Verhaeghe is got to be a sneaky Conn Smythe Trophy candidate, leads the NHL in game-winning goals and also in go-ahead goals over the past 3 postseasons combined. So when you look at that whole body of work for the Florida Panthers, like their most clutch goal scorer has been Carter Verhaeghe. So maybe he's a guy to look out for on the live line over the course of the series. If the game goes deep, third period, late third period, into overtime, Verhaeghe has been Mr. Clutch for the Florida Panthers, pretty low-key.
Pete, you saw the Conn Smythe Award odds right there. Connor McDavid won it last year for Edmonton despite Florida winning the Cup. He is the even money favorite at +100 this time around. Playoff Bob, Sergei Bobrovsky has the best price for anybody on the Panthers. Their netminder at +270. If you had to think of where the value lies in terms of the Conn Smythe odds right now, where do you think the best bet might be?
The ones that jump out are Draisaitl, Verhaeghe, and Marchand. I mentioned Marchand and the narrative surrounding his career. I believe this is the 4th time he's been to the Cup final. The previous 3 with the Bruins. He's lost a couple with the Bruins lately, 2019, 2013, and then one earlier in his career. They got him before the deadline, and he's been a dynamite pickup as expected once he got healthy, tail end of the regular season and into the postseason. And then the narrative surrounding Draisaitl is that sometimes a top player from a team will win one year and then the sidekick might win the next year. I know that McDavid won it last year and he's the front runner for good reason, but Draisaitl did lead the NHL regular season in goals and is almost just as good of a scorer as McDavid. So if he really pops off, could be one of those things where he gets the love that he deserves.
Pete, enjoy the Cup final. We'll talk throughout hour number 3 next.